Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the second day of the Entrepreneurship to the Point Innovation Forum. I'm Sean Tienessen, and I'll be hosting you this morning. Welcome. Please do let us know where you're from. Use the chat function below and introduce yourself. Yesterday, we had quite an awesome day with two of our experts. Before I unpack that, let me tell you a little bit about Entrepreneurship to the Point. We've been around for about 8 years. You can sign up to our newsletter. It's at eTTP.co.za. Entrepreneurship to the Point is all about informing, equipping, and inspiring entrepreneurs on their journey of growing their business. Over this time, we've been hosting quite a few webinars, and that videos are available on our YouTube channel, so Entrepreneurship to the Point. You can also subscribe on our YouTube channel if you want to get any updates on future webinars. We partnered up with SEDA to bring you this virtual innovation forum with the aim to equip entrepreneurs who would like to take their business on an e-commerce platform. Yesterday we covered, we had Arun that spoke about how to set up an e-commerce platform, what's the various tools available, what's the type of skills that you need or skills that you can outsource for your platform and also what's the various payment gateways that you can work with. That video is available on our YouTube channel. We also had Rowana, who shared a little bit about her platform called iHouseit. It's a marketplace platform that aggregates a lot of various sellers. And it was quite an informative session around the various tools available and how you can actually go about engaging with consumers and take your product into a virtual marketplace. This morning, we'll be going on to the next phase of that journey, and it's really all about marketing your e-commerce platform. What is it that you need to be able to do to market your platform or market your product? If you have a product that is serving the need of the market and the need of clients, how do you get the word out there? We're going to look at the difference between free and earned marketing. How do you use social media as a great channel? How do you activate tools like AdWords or optimize your online presence? And Tebogo will be sharing that details with us. I'd like to invite Tebogo now to join us. And Tebogo, just please do give us an introduction to who you are and share a little bit about your journey with us this morning.
Hi, Sean. Thank you so much. Let me just share my screen. Hi, so good morning to all the viewers. Good morning to the panel of speakers. Firstly, I'd like to send a big thank you to the Entrepreneurship to the Point team for inviting me to be part of the panel of speakers today for this virtual innovation forum webinar in partnership with SEDA. So today I'll be going through digital marketing, more particularly marketing your new e-commerce website. My name is Debo Raswaisi. I'm a digital marketing specialist and consultant. I am also a digital media strategist at Shell South Africa, which is an in-house agency for Samsung globally. In that role, I am responsible for the digital marketing efforts for the Africa operations, which include Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana, Senegal, and other surrounding countries in West and East Africa. So today I'll be kind of giving you sort of like an overview of what is digital marketing, right? What does it entail? What are the different facets? As well as more particularly, how can you market and advertise your new e-commerce website? So in day one yesterday, as Sean has mentioned, we spoke about how you can build the e-commerce website. So now you've built it, it's ready. How now do you market your e-commerce website to your customers? So here are the topics that I'll be covering in the presentation. We'll be starting off with the rise of e-commerce in South Africa amid the COVID-19 SA lockdown. Since the lockdown in March or so, we've seen a rapid increase in e-commerce and online shopping. I'll be covering a bit of that and sharing some data with you guys. And then straight from that, we'll be going over into what is digital marketing. You know, a lot of people have different perceptions of what digital marketing is. So we'll be setting the record straight here and giving you more insight into what exactly online marketing or digital marketing is. Then straight from there, we'll be jumping into Google. Google is the biggest search engine in the world. So we'll be discussing why your e-commerce business needs to be on Google and how you can use Google's ad products to market or advertise your e-commerce business. And then straight from the Google, we'll be going into search engine optimization or SEO. What is search engine optimization and how can you rank higher on the SERP page, which is a search engine results page on Google? So Google and search engine optimization are hugely linked together. And then we'll be going over into email marketing. What is email marketing? How can you connect with your consumers through email marketing and build an umbilical cord with your customers through email marketing? And then straight from that, we'll be going into social media marketing. What are the various social media platforms available for you to build your online presence, to generate leads, to generate targeted traffic to your e-commerce website? And then straight after that, we'll go into a Q&A, but Sean will be asking a few questions that the people would like to know during the session. So I'll be doing a bit of Q&A in between as well. So please bear in mind, sorry. So please bear in mind.
I wanted to share with you quickly. This is really a great introduction. We've got so many people dialing in from all over. We've got some guys in from Ghana, Nigeria, locally in South Africa, Mthatha, Johannesburg, the South Coast, Mbombela, Limpopo, Bloemfontein. So we've got a great audience here and we've got a great content that we want to go through. Looking forward to it. Guys, use the chat function. We want to ensure that we get those questions. We'll be facilitating the questions in between the sessions and at the end. And then also just after we're done with Tebogo, we go into the next phase of the discussion, which is the legal implications of setting up an e-commerce platform. And we've got Daniel Batty from ENCO that's going to talk us through some of the legalities around it. But yes, great to see that the chat is going and very engaged at this point in time. Don't forget to sign up to our newsletter at www.eTTP.co.za and also our YouTube channel, Entrepreneurship to the Point, where all our resources are available for you to go and watch, and make sure that you subscribe so that you can get updates as we have these various webinars. Super exciting, Tebogo. Take us through what has happened with COVID and the digital economy.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sean. I do want to point out, however, as a quick disclaimer that, you know, each and every topic here of the 6 topics can be a full entire 30-minute presentation. I could go really in depth with every topic. For the sake of time for this particular presentation, I'll be merely scratching the surface, but obviously if you guys have any sort of questions, you can direct them to Sean or in the chat function, and then I will answer them as I go through the presentation.
And depending on the demand, Tebogo, we might just go into a bit more detail. We'll schedule a few other webinars. So please, listeners, viewers, let us know what your feedback is. Let us know about what you want to see. We also will be having a survey that will be in the chat function. Please do click on the link and give us your feedback so that we can bring you more information and get to the point with things that's important to you as an entrepreneur. Thanks.
Absolutely. So the rise of e-commerce in South Africa amid the lockdown. So since close to the end of March, we went into a national lockdown initiated by the government and the presidency. And this resulted in a lot of changes in South Africa, including business closures, including brick and mortar stores being closed, including the halt of e-commerce, some e-commerce websites, and the delivering of goods. And then obviously we got introduced to a risk-adjusted strategy from the government, where we'll be shifting from level 5 until level 1, between level 5 and level 1. And I think during level 4, we saw the opening of e-commerce functionalities in the country for e-commerce websites to deliver goods and for people to order and go on these e-commerce websites. So there was a radical change brought about by the lockdown due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So in this particular section, we'll be going through what those changes were and how the rise of e-commerce came about. So, amid the strange new world of COVID-19, online shopping has been a lifeline for many South African consumers, as many brick and mortar stores were unable to open and sell goods during more stricter levels of lockdown. In South Africa, 29% of online consumers say they are doing far more shopping than before the coronavirus outbreak, while 65% said they are visiting physical stores less, according to a Nielsen study of 10 markets in Africa and Middle East. This is due to mandatory lockdowns, store closures, and the threat of COVID-19 is discouraging people to visit crowded supermarkets. So this has led to a spike in activity and sales for online retailers such as Takealot, Loot, Superbalist, and others. DPO South Africa, South Africa's largest payment provider, reports that the last weekend of May, transitions per minute hit 4 times that of the busiest minute experienced during Black Friday last year. So we know that Black Friday is the biggest retail day of the annual calendar. And we see a huge surge in online transactions as well as retail transactions. So that's quite a staggering statistic. So such statistics show us that e-commerce has grown quite significantly in SA since the start of lockdown and has catalyzed a shift to online shopping.
And if I can say, I mean, we've seen this, you know, Africa has really been lagging around online shopping, but we've definitely started seeing the increase. I'm just reminded even of Jumia in Nigeria and how it's just actually done super well when it came out. And we're going to ask some of the listeners as well, who's actually opted for online shopping at this point in time with COVID coming in, because many people have been hesitant about online shopping. So it would be interesting to see what the listeners say as well.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Conga is one of the biggest African online retailers in Africa, by the way. Advantages of e-commerce over traditional retail in general, just excluding COVID. So the advantages would be to overcome geographical limitations, right? The second would be to gain new customers with search engine visibility. And then the third, I think most entrepreneurs would be happy with, is to lower costs. I think the advantages are to lower the cost of your business overhead in general. I think is a huge advantage from shifting from traditional retail into e-commerce. So if you have a physical store, you're limited by the geographical area that you can service. With an e-commerce website, the whole country is your playground. So you don't have to literally limit yourself to Johannesburg. With the e-commerce website, you can advertise your e-commerce business to other provinces, and you can even advertise overseas. And if your drop shipping and your supply chain management and your distribution is well in place, you can ship your goods to overseas as well. So online retail is mostly driven by traffic from search engines like Google. When potential customers are looking for your product, service, your business has an opportunity to show up and they can click through to your e-commerce website. So Google is a perfect search engine, as one of the biggest search engines. and you can advertise through Google and through its products, and people can see your search ads or your display ads as well as your YouTube ads, and they can click through to your e-commerce website and you can get targeted traffic. So lower cost. So one of the most tangible positives of e-commerce is the lowered cost. Advertising and marketing online through Google, social media, and SEO is cost effective. So this is one of the selling points for digital marketing I'll always raise in my presentations with clients and with small business entrepreneurs, is that digital marketing is very, very affordable and it's very measurable. I know with traditional, I don't mean to knock down traditional media, but with a particular radio advert or a TV advert or a billboard advert, you can't be really sure how many people you've reached. But with digital marketing, you can track and measure every activity online, and we can actually see how many people we've reached, how many impressions we've served, and we can really put people through the purchase funnel online. So real estate, this is a no-brainer. An e-commerce merchant does not need a prominent physical location. So over there, you're cutting out the cost of rent at a physical store, and you have e-commerce website online. I think the only cost that is linked to this as real estate would be your domain hosting cost, which is very affordable. I think AfriHost right now has a domain cost of about 80 Rand per month or so. So that's absolutely certainly better than paying about 5,000-6,000 Rand or 10,000 Rand for a physical store for rent.
So it's an interesting perspective as well, specifically from a real estate play. But what we're seeing, if we start looking at the kind of the history of some of the bigger players like the Amazons of this world, you started seeing Amazon moving into bricks and mortar as well. Even locally, Yuppiechef being one of the top online e-commerce platforms in South Africa has also gone the retail route. But I think what we find there, or what we see in those case studies, is the fact that they have created such a big online presence that the retail offering becomes, or the bricks and mortar offering becomes, more of a showcasing of the offering than an actual transactional store. And I think it's that ability to pivot yourself quite quickly by going online with, if you have a product or something that is of need, you can do that easily online and transition into real estate. We've got a question or a comment here: are not the websites are not user friendly. So your traditional stores are finding it more difficult actually to pivot onto an shopping for you at any store and provide it to you in the seamless delivery. But definitely an interesting play on this whole retail or bricks and mortar and online space. Also, just to give you guys an indication of the survey, we've had 61% of our listeners doing online shopping during COVID. So there's definitely that pivot where people are not going into physical stores, but actually doing online shopping.
100%. And I'm going to share some data on internet penetration in South Africa and so forth, so you can get sort of like an understanding of how many people are using the internet in South Africa in the population. So moving on, what is digital marketing? A lot of people have a lot of perceptions of what digital marketing is. And one of the perceptions is that we do a lot of pop-up ads. So I'd love to actually kind of set the record straight and say, I go to a lot of dinners and I go to a lot of, pre-COVID, and I go to a lot of just lunches, and people ask me what I do for a living, and I say I'm a digital marketing specialist. And they say, oh no, you create pop-up ads, and I show you I don't create pop-up ads. I think digital marketing has matured since, you know, the early 2000s and late 90s, from pop-up ads to a more sophisticated sort of industry and way to advertise businesses online. You know, with the inclusion of Google, with the inclusion of social media, with the inclusion of email marketing, we have all these tools to make it a sophisticated effort to advertise your business online, which I'll be sharing later on in the presentation. So note everybody, I don't do pop-up ads.
I think also with the emergence of pop-up ads, you have a lot of scams. We had a question here, and maybe you can speak about it later on in your presentation. He was just asking, you know, how safe is online shopping really with all these scams out there?
Absolutely, absolutely. So what is digital marketing? Digital marketing encompasses all marketing efforts that use an electronic device or the internet. Essentially, it is marketing that is done online. Businesses can leverage digital channels such as search engines, social media, email, and other websites to connect with current and prospective customers, right? So here's some data we can look at. This data is sourced from Data Reportal. Data Reportal is a data provider, and they share digital data insights on their website annually, from a global perspective as well as from an in-market perspective. So for each country, they'll share the digital penetration or internet penetration rather, amount of media consumption, digital media consumption, and etc. So here we're looking specifically at internet penetration in South Africa. And we can see here in 2017, we had 52% internet penetration. So that's 52% of South Africans are internet users, right? And then in 2018, we had a gradual increase, 1% increase to 53% internet penetration. And it carried on into 2019 where we had 54% internet penetration. And then there was a bit of a huge spike from 2019 to 2020 where we have now a 62% internet penetration in South Africa. That means that 62% of South Africans are using the internet. So this begs the question, if your business is not on the internet, why isn't it on the internet? And if it is already on the internet and you have an e-commerce website set up, you need to invest more time, more advertising spend online so you can reach those customers that you couldn't reach with a traditional brick and mortar store. And then we look at device usage, particularly in 2020. So this is the share of web traffic by device in South Africa, also sourced from Data Reportal. I'll share the website in the comment section or after the presentation. And right off the bat, you can just tell that we are a mobile first country, right? With 73% or 73.4% of South Africans accessing the internet through their mobile device, right? And then secondly, we have 24.5% of South Africans accessing the internet through their laptop or desktop device. And then lastly, we have 2.1% of South Africans accessing the internet through their tablet device. So straight off the bat, when looking at the slide, you can already tell that we are a mobile first country. And if you have an e-commerce site or you want to advertise online for your brick and mortar store, it's important to optimize your website for mobile traffic, as well as make sure when you're advertising that you're advertising to mobile consumers more than anything else. So kind of reappropriate most of your advertising online spend to mobile rather than laptop and tablet devices. So
and I think that's an important point, Tebogo. It's just in the small things that people are able to do, whether it's the images that they're sending out, whether it's the website configuration, to be able to, I mean, the data is telling us we need to target mobile.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. So, and most importantly, I go on a lot of websites these days, and their mobile or their website rather, or e-commerce site is not optimized for mobile. So when kind of opening up the website, it wouldn't restructure all the images and all the text to fit the screen of a mobile device, right? You'll get an image that is overlaying a text. and it looks mumbled and jumbled. And that goes back to what we spoke about earlier, that user experience in an e-commerce platform. User experience is very, very, very important, because people will bounce off your e-commerce website if they're finding it very difficult to navigate and the user experience is not customer friendly.
Does Data Reportal also disaggregate the information for South Africa by province? Just a question that we have.
Not as yet. They give us data according to South Africa as a whole. But I have a good relationship with the guys. I'll shoot them an email after this, and maybe we can include that in our next presentation and see if we can really dive down to province related data.
Okay, awesome.
Great. And now that we know that South Africa is a mobile first country, now we take a more in-depth look to see how many people in general. So in 2017, so this is internet users by mobile device. So in 2017, we had 27 million people accessing the internet through their mobile device. And then in 2018, it jumped to 29 million. And then it stayed stagnant throughout to 2019. And then obviously we saw the increase again to 35 million, as we saw in the previous slide as well. We saw that huge spike there from 54% to 62%, which kind of makes sense in relation to this graph as well. So mobile first, I cannot stress this anymore. If you are creating an e-commerce website, make sure that it's mobile optimized and all your advertising efforts are mobile first in terms of appropriation of ad spend.
Good question that I have in terms of that. I don't know if you're going to be touching on it as well, specifically with the fact that we are a mobile first country. Yes. What about the utilization of WhatsApp as a channel for that? Yesterday, someone mentioned WhatsApp bots. What's your thoughts around people using WhatsApp as a channel as well?
Absolutely, I think it's a great channel to use. WhatsApp has WhatsApp for Business, which a lot of telecom providers or telecom businesses are using. MTN, for instance, where you can purchase airtime, where you can check your balance, where you can do numerous things through a chatbot. So I think it's a brilliant channel to use as a small business. And I'll share I'll share the company that actually creates or that created the bot for MTN. And maybe if some of the entrepreneurs have time, they could reach out to them and they offer the service of kind of creating a chat bot within the WhatsApp space. So I'm happy to share that after the presentation. And I think it's a great channel to use. Great. So Google. Yes.
Just one question. I think it's relevant. If we say we're a mobile first country, but in the rural areas, there's still challenges with data or poor connection. How do you penetrate that market if you say use mobile?
Yes, so there are various other methods, and unfortunately I won't get into it in this particular presentation, but there's something called SMS marketing. There's something called SMS marketing, which has grown over the years. And because of the cost of data in South Africa, we have one of the highest costs of data. One of the other channels could be SMS marketing. And some of the telecom providers really offer zero-rated websites where people can literally receive an SMS and it will take them to a zero-rated website, which means that you don't have to have data to access the website and navigate through it. So we're going to be seeing an emergence of that, of zero-rated websites. But I think SMS marketing is a good opportunity to reach a customer who has difficulty accessing data or does not have the monetary means to purchase data, lots of data. So I think that'll be a solution for that.
Awesome. So just as an introduction, that was our colleague Karin that will be also sharing some of your questions as they come in. So Let's go Google.
So Google is synonymous with the internet. Every time a person mentions Google, the first thoughts that pop up are internet, digital, search engine. So it's really synonymous with digital marketing and digital and the online space. So why is Google so important, and why should your business care about Google? So most of us don't even think about choosing a search engine to use. We simply Google it. Google is the most popular search engine in the world, and for good reason. Google owns 94% of the search engine market, right? Followed by Bing and Yahoo and other search engines. So Google processes over 3.5 billion searches per day. If you break the statistic down, it means that Google processes over 40,000 search queries every second on average. According to Mars 2019, 84% of respondents use Google 3 times a day or more often. Just like many other searches, Google is also a starting point for almost half of the product searches. So 46% of product searches begin on Google, according to JumpShot 2018. So it's clear that Google is pretty much dominates the search engine market, and dominates the search engine market overwhelmingly. And since it is such a massive search engine, it's important to make sure that you are advertising on Google or through its ad products. So Google Ads. Google Ads is an advertising platform created by Google, where advertisers like myself or business owners and entrepreneurs with small businesses can sign up, and they can create their campaigns and monitor the campaigns on their advertising campaigns, and as well as track and report on the performance of the campaigns. So there are 3 ways you can advertise through Google. It's through search, it's through display, which is basically banner advertising, and it's through YouTube ads. So let's get into Google search ads, right? So Google search ads are pretty much pay-per-click. It's pretty much pay-per-click advertising. Google Ads, formerly known as Google AdWords, is the single most popular PPC advertising system in the world. The ads platform enables businesses to create ads that appear on Google's search engine and other properties. So PPC stands for pay-per-click. It's a model of digital marketing in which advertisers pay a fee each time one of their ads is clicked. Essentially, it's a method of paid advertising in order to attract and increase traffic to your website, rather than attempting to earn those visits organically. So if we look over here to the left, this is a practical example, and this is a search query input into the search engine bar, right? Google search engine bar. So it's insurance quote, right? And then this here is what we call a SERP in digital marketing. That's an acronym for search engine results page. So upon inputting your search query, or keywords rather, Google will spit out some great results related to your search query, which are most relevant. So here we see these are ads over here, as you can see on the left over here. That's 1 ad, 2 ad, 3 ad, 4 ads. So that's for OUTsurance, that's for budget insurance, that's for Sanlam, and that's for naked car insurance. So how they are laid out, sorry?
Just a quick question here from Tapelo.
Yes.
And we see there like the big names are coming up in terms of the advertising. And he says mostly, the question is really, how does one make an ad that stands out without breaking the bank? Because most of the Google ads are dominated by big players with bigger budgets.
Yes. So my answer to that question would be relevance, and doing extensive research on keywords, which are these. So insurance and quote could be 2 separate keywords, and then there could be one search term, which is one keyword as well. So doing extensive research on keywords of your business. If you're selling running shoes, doing extensive research on the keywords that people might input into the Google search bar, and that will automatically bring up your ad or organic search result, right? And then the second thing would be content, right, on your website. So that's also a factor that contributes to you being your business being listed in the first page of the Google search results page. But I'm going to go into that shortly. So content and relevance, and Google will reward you for being a relevant website. They will show you on the search results page if your business or your content on your website is relevant to the search query, right? And then obviously there's keyword bids that also are a factor, right? When you bid on insurance, let's say, which is a keyword, obviously the big players that bid higher on these keywords have more of a chance to show first on the Google search results page, either as an ad or as an organic listing, which I'll explain later.
When you speak about keywords,
Yes.
is it, so those are keywords that you would tag within your website?
Yes, absolutely.
That will become prominent. So Corneille, we had a question from Corneille to say, where do we find the keywords? It's
Yeah.
the specific keywords that's related to your offering,
Yes,
that you would tag.
absolutely. Related to your offering, that are linked to your business. And there's something we call long tail keywords as well. So people might search for comparative quote, or they might search for something else, insurance coverage. So those are long tail keywords that people might input in there. And if they are really in the content on your website, you have more of a chance of being on the search engine results page much higher. But I'll go into that. That's a bit more of SEO, which I'm going to go into later on in the presentation. And then I'll explain what SEO means and why it's important for your business. So pretty much Google Ads operates on a pay-per-click model in which users bid on keywords, right, and pay for each click on their adverts. So this would be a keyword. They would bid on insurance. So it's either you can bid high or bid low, right? And then if you bid high, you have more likely of a chance to be first on the search engine results page, your ad to show first, rather your search ad to show first. So those are, there are three factors, but obviously bidding is very important as well. So every time a search is initiated, Google dings into the pool of ads advertisers create and chooses a set of winners to appear in the valuable ad space on its search results page. The winners are chosen based on a combination of factors which we just discussed, including the quality and relevance of the keywords. Are they relevant to your offering? Are they relevant to the content on your website? Are they relevant to the keywords that you've bidded for? And as well as the size of your keyword bid. So bidding is also very important. So I know for instance, insurance is quite an expensive keyword to bid on, right? So that's why the big players like OutSurance, like Budget Insurance, are always first because they bid higher, and obviously their content is hugely related to insurance, right? So bidding on such keywords, but you can bid on long tail keywords, which are cheaper, and you can still have a chance to show up on the first page of Google as a search.
Is it perhaps a tutorial or how can our listeners just get some more information around it? So like questions that we're getting is like, how do you tag a keyword? Without getting into it, I know we need to kind of move on in terms of the other elements that we want to cover. But what resources would you recommend for people to go and learn a little bit more about this?
100%. I would firstly go to YouTube. There's some great tutorials, but if you want practical lessons or just something to focus on that's more practical is just sign up to Google Ads. Just type in Google Ads on your Google search bar and click on Google Ads and link your website and just go inside and then just play around while watching tutorials on how to use Google Ads. But I'll think of more websites you can visit to learn a bit more. But I know Hootsuite, I know Neil Patel's website, Neil Patel. I'm not sure of the complete URL, but I'll share that as well. I'll share all these links. Neil Patel is a great digital marketer, which you can learn from, and he has content throughout his social media, and he also has a blog. And you can absolutely just go through his content and you'll learn so much about keywords, about bidding on keywords, and how to actually create a campaign from scratch on Google Ads. So, moving right along, these are practical examples now of search ads, right? So this particular person on the left was searching for running shoes, right? They search for running shoes, they put in the keywords or search query rather, running shoes in the Google search bar, and these are the results that that they receive from Google. So firstly, you'll see here there's an ad for Superbalist and there's an ad for Adidas, right? And these here are what we call shopping ads, right? These are product related ads. So in Google Ads, you have an option to create a shopping ad, or you have an option to create a search ad, right? So these are product specific. So when you click on it, it takes you directly to that particular product. Whereas with search ads, if you click on here, and then Superbalist pays a small fee, let's say 30 cents for the sake of this presentation, then you are led to a landing page, which I will cover just now. And then you have an option to choose whichever running shoe that you particularly like, and then you can check out, log in and check out. So on the right over here, we're in the middle of winter. It's very cold. This particular person was looking for winter jackets, and they got some shopping ads over here, and then they got some search ads over here from Woolies as well as Mr. Price, right? So you click on this Cape Union Mart product over here, this jacket over here, it will lead you straight to the product. And you have an option to log in if you have an account, or to register, and then add to cart and then check out, right? So let's say we click on Superbalist. What happens then? We are led to what we call a landing page. This is a page that you connect to your search ad or shopping ad, or the shopping ad would rather take you to the product page. This is more of a landing page that has an array of running shoes. So you can pick and choose which running shoes you want. You can log in, and then you can head straight to the checkout page and purchase, right? And then this would be another example, right? If you clicked on the Woolworths ad, search ad, you'll be led to what we call a landing page, which is under the category of jackets, coats, and blazers. And then you can browse through, and then you can select which jacket you want, and then you can obviously log in and check out. So what are the benefits of search ads? So more visibility, more traffic, highly interested prospects, and then my favorite, detailed analytics. So more visibility, whether you're a small startup business trying to build your online presence or large organization with an already existing reputation, paid ads are perfect for quickly getting in front of high intent search prospects. So high intent meaning that these people are really going onto Google, searching for running shoes. They have a high intent to purchase, right? They're searching for running shoes. They're actively looking for running shoes. So they'll definitely click through to the website if it's relevant, and if Google shows it on the first page, usually. No one really goes to the second page anymore. And it clicks on and goes to the landing page and finds what they're looking for and checks out and purchases the product. More traffic. Search ads can increase your website traffic. This is not just random traffic, but targeted, relevant traffic. People who are looking for your product. So as said, it's high intent. People are looking for these products. And when you're setting up your campaign, your search ad campaign in Google Ads, you have an opportunity to set up the targeting. Who are you looking to target? Are you looking to target demographics, male, between the ages of 30 to 40, who live in Johannesburg? You have all those targeting functions that you can input. And obviously the keywords matter as well. So highly interested prospects. As mentioned, since paid search ads target specific search queries, people who see your ads were already searching for a solution like yours. So they're not just people surfing the web, rather, they're likely interested in evaluating your product or service either now or in the future. And then we move over to my favorites over here, data analytics. I love measuring things. I love analyzing performance and evaluating clicks and doing attribution modeling and all the other technical stuff. So Google Ads provides real-time data and analytics, enabling you to learn about your campaigns and prospects and to see what exactly you're getting from your advertising spend. So some of the most useful analytics include where a prospect is geographically located, what type of device they're using to search, what pages they visited on your site, how much time they spent on your site. So all these analytics can really inform, can really give you a good idea of how it's performing, and you can really optimize your search ads according to the analytics and all the reporting and data you find in this section. So which is another great tool. So these are the other benefits or rather properties of Google, right? So YouTube, so you have an opportunity to create YouTube ads, or you have an opportunity to create Google Display Network or display ads, as we call it in digital marketing. So according to Google, every month, more than 1 billion people watch more than 6 billion hours of YouTube video. With such a large audience spending so much time on one platform, YouTube is becoming the preferred place to advertise for many businesses. So you can create 6-minute bumper ads, you can create skippable in-stream ads, which while the person is watching the content, and then they have an ad over there that says, hey, I am X business, e-commerce business, I'm selling running shoes or winter jackets, right?
On that note, maybe I'll take the opportunity to advertise. So guys, this recording and yesterday's recording, Pearl asked the question in the chat, is available on our YouTube page. It's Entrepreneurship to the Point on YouTube. Click on the subscribe button and you'll get all the updates. I'm sure you guys are all agreeing with me that this is such an informative session, and we're definitely getting equipped today. It's awesome. Lebogo, continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. So Google Display Network, getting your ads on a major website might seem like a difficult and expensive task, but with the Google Display Network, it's very simple. The Google Display Network is a group of more than 2 million publisher websites. The Display Network sites reach over 90% of internet users worldwide. So basically, if you want to put your or advertise on a particular website, let's say you're selling phones and you'd like to advertise on Tech Central or My Broadband or News24, you have an opportunity to do that on Google Display Network and put up particular ad banners or like a roadblock sort of one-page takeover or homepage takeover rather on the particular website. And they have an opportunity to click through to your e-commerce website, right? From there. So it's a great opportunity for display banners on relevant websites. So we move over to search engine optimization, or for in short, SEO. So what is SEO? Search engine optimization is the scientific art of optimizing your website around specific keywords in order to rank higher in search results, such as Google. Essentially, it is a process of getting traffic from the free, organic, editorial, or natural search results on search engines. So it's pretty much organic results for organic traffic. So remember in our last, in the Google search ads segment, we input insurance, the search query insurance codes in the search, in the Google search bar. And then above these was all those ads from Outsurance, from Hippo, etc. Right? So these are the organic search results, right? So these ones are organic, they're not paid for. When you click on them, Hippo doesn't need to pay Google for that effort or the click, right? So how do you get your website here? Relevant content, right? And specific links that are linked to your search query, and just basically being a relevant and having relevant headlines and having relevant meta tags and just being relevant to the search query or keywords, right? So all these companies, Discovery, MyWay, Hippo, are relevant to the search query, to insurance, insurance quote, or the entire search query insurance quote. So that's pretty much what SEO is. It's basically using your content, your links in your website, and the relevance of all of these to rank higher on Google. This takes some time to do because Google, what Google does is that it crawls the internet to find relevant websites, right, to show for each query. So it takes a bit of time. It takes a couple of months or 6 months or a year or so to really just for Google to dispatch its crawlers and to crawl the website to find the relevant websites to show for relevant search queries.
Awesome. So Tebogo, I know we've got quite a bit of limited time, so we want to get into some of the social media stuff as well. Also, guys, please note that the presentations is on the recording. It will be on the YouTube page. You can go afterwards to have a look at the recording again. But we also want to be keen to find out from you guys if you would like to have another social media or masterclass, a digital marketing masterclass. So please do answer the poll, and we'll definitely have another one because this is so much, it's so useful, the information that we're sharing here today. So yeah.
Thanks, Sean. So in search results based on a person's search query, Google displays a few ads as mentioned. Then they show the organic listings. This is where SEO comes in. So this is a form of free advertising as we outlined. This is a form of free advertising unless you want to pay a search engine optimization or SEO specialist to come in and to do this for you and to show you the tips and tricks you can do to input relevant keywords in the content of your website to rank higher on Google for certain search queries. So, sorry, I'm struggling with, okay. So how can SEO be beneficial to your e-commerce site? So firstly, one of the benefits is cost, and then there's sustainability, and then there's improved click-through rate. I'll explain what that is. While SEO takes a long time, it will generally be more cost-effective than all other marketing tactics for delivering brand awareness and relevant traffic to your website. So this is the alternative of paid advertising, as we spoke of. And then secondly, sustainability. Unlike paid search marketing, organic traffic does not dry up the moment you stop paying. As such, efforts to develop organic traffic can sustain a business when marketing spend is cut back. So let's say now your business has been affected by COVID-19, your advertising spend is no longer, but you still need to rank high on Google. If you have been really working at your SEO and improving the content on your website, the links on your website, and the keywords on your website, and you don't have money to spend on paid advertising, your website will still rank high on Google and will get an opportunity to be in front of relevant potential customers, so they can click through to your website. So I think it's a great supplementary. I don't encourage just using paid advertising alone. I think use both and have a supplementary sort of SEO specialist helping you to rank high on Google while using paid ads. So when you don't have the spend to invest in paid advertising, you can still rank high on Google or other search engines such as Bing and Yahoo.
Okay, awesome. So we've got 95% of our participants definitely keen to do a masterclass. So we will definitely try and bring that back to you guys. I think, Tebogo, if we can go into some of the social media stuff, I'm just conscious of time, and I know that's one of the key elements that people can also learn from. So some of the stuff that we are skipping over, guys, you'll just give us a quick introduction to it, and then we'll continue.
Okay, so I'm going to swiftly just go through email marketing. So what is email marketing? Email marketing is a highly effective digital marketing strategy of sending emails to prospects and customers. Effective marketing emails convert prospects into customers and turn one-time buyers into loyal, raving fans. Email marketing is a great opportunity to communicate with active customers who have subscribed to your email list. This can be done by placing an opt-in form on your website and encourage people to sign up. So remember the Superbalist page, landing page for running shoes I went on. So after a couple of seconds, they served me this opt-in pop-up form, right, to input my details in, my email address, and then they can capture my email address, and then they can communicate. I'll be basically on the email list, and they can communicate with me through email marketing campaigns, right? So, sorry. Yeah, so unfortunately, this strategy usually doesn't work very well. To grow your email list, you need to attract people with a compelling offer, or you need a lead magnet, right? So a lead magnet would be this: get 250% off your first buy. So it's kind of like an offer or a hook to really get people to share the email address so you can communicate with them through email marketing campaigns. So I'm just going to skip over the benefits. And this is a great sort of statistic. So the 2019 HubSpot survey tells us that 59% of respondents say marketing emails influence their purchase decision. So I highly, highly recommend including an email marketing strategy or email campaigns in your greater scheme of digital marketing strategy for your e-commerce business. So these are just quick examples of email marketing. Popular daily deals e-commerce platform, one day only, make great use of email marketing to showcase their best deals. So I signed on to one day only, and this is one of their newsletters, and it's very clickable. It's HTML a newsletter, and you can click, and then it leads you straight to the website, and you can make a purchase. And then the second would be popular online retailer, Takealot, also communicates specials and promotions to the email list, or sometimes we call it an email database, through email marketing. And they also have daily deals, and they would communicate their specials for Black Friday or for the weekend or for winter deals or summer deals. My personal favorite, they are absolutely fantastic at email marketing, is NetFlorist, South Africa's oldest e-commerce company. They go the extra mile by adding some personalization into their email marketing strategy to pull at heartstrings, make the customer feel special and appreciated. So Candice is a friend of mine that I sent a gift, quite a few, well, a newsletter just tailored for me, with the gifts I might want to just share or purchase on Netflix, right? So a quick little data report from Data Reportal. This is the total number of active social media users in South Africa. So we can see here from 2017, we have 27%. and it's been growing to 32%, and it grew in 2019 to 40%, and it plateaued over here for some strange reason. I'll really have to just talk to the data reporter guys to make sure this is absolutely correct. I would have expected it to kind of increase, since the amount of internet users in South Africa have kind of increased over the years in 2020, particularly, and the internet penetration. So here are the 5 core pillars of social media marketing. So before you start your social media marketing and creating all your platforms, this is something to think about and let it ruminate in your mind before starting your social media marketing efforts. So firstly, it's strategy. Secondly, planning and publishing. Thirdly, listening and engagement. Fourthly, advertising. And then obviously my favorite, analytics and reporting. So how can social media help you achieve your business goals? So your business goals, so let's say you've set up your e-commerce site more recently, and it's set up, it's new, and a lot of people don't know about your brand. I'd say your business goal is brand awareness at that time. So your business goals need to align to your social media goals. So every time you create content and you post something, it's to create brand awareness around your e-commerce site or brand, so people can know about it and they can trust it to go on and purchase on the e-commerce website. With so many scams out there, it's important to get that buy-in and trust from your customers. So moving on to planning and publishing, plan your content ahead of time instead of publishing spontaneously. So in social media marketing, we have what we call a content calendar, which is the usual calendar with all the months, the 12 months, and then the days of the month. And then you can input over there which post will be published on which date in which month. So I think that's great planning. So you know that on Wednesday, just before Black Friday, I'll be posting offers that will be, of products that will be selling on Black Friday, and the discounts and the promotions. And then that is also closely linked to analytics and reporting. So let's say your Facebook page has 130,000 fans and they're most active during a Wednesday at 6 o'clock. So you know that rather than posting on Monday when you have a less engaged audience, you can post on Friday or on Wednesday rather at 6 o'clock when you have a more engaged audience, and you can get some traction around your post or content. And then listening and engagement. You will want to monitor social media conversations about your brand. So in social media marketing also we have what we call sentiment analysis, right? So it's basically going on to your relevant social media platforms and kind of monitoring what people are saying and the talkability around your brand or e-commerce brand or website, right? Is it negative? Is it positive? Are there influencers who are really talking about your brand? That'll be a great opportunity to reach out to them and hopefully collaborate with them on a campaign. And you can check out certain hashtags, and you can really understand your customers and what they're saying about your brand, and can really engage with them. Whether they're unhappy that you deliver your products in 3 days, they prefer 2 or 1. And you can really get all those insights from just listening on social media and engaging with your audience.
The question that we have is it advisable to only advertise on social media platforms and not on Google? So if you're only using Facebook or Insta?
Yes. So I would say I'm a media planner by profession, and I always say it's good to diversify. You know, it's always good to have social media and Google and appropriate funds accordingly. And this is why I love analytics and reporting so much, is because you can really start a campaign and use all the platforms and use Google and use email. And then after a month or 2 months, you can come back and look at your performance and say, okay.
Tracking the performance is very key to see where's your audience actually at and how you can engage with them. Another question is just sentiment analysis. Where do we get this feedback from?
Unfortunately, sentiment analysis is featured on tools like Meltwater. These are paid tools that measure sentiment analysis. I will kind of scour the internet a bit today to see if there are any tools, social media tools that are free that entrepreneurs can use to measure sentiment analysis. But as of now, I know that Meltwater is one of the best at measuring sentiment analysis, and it's a paid for tool, unfortunately.
We've got a question here from Paula as well that says, should I advertise on my personal wall or my Facebook page? So I would assume the question relates to, should we be advertising on our business pages versus our personal pages? So where does that intersection between an entrepreneur's personal page and their business page sit? Just from
I would highly recommend advertising on your business page. So it's just relevant to your business, right? As opposed to confusing your customers and posting on your personal page. Rather direct people from your personal page to like or follow your business pages so you can communicate all your offers on your business page. Just to just minimize lack of confusion and lack of just understanding about your business offerings. So I highly recommend just driving traffic to your business pages and getting people to like your business pages and kind of posting content about your business on your business pages.
Okay. Tebogo, so we also unfortunately running out of time. There's so much more that we can cover on the topic. We will definitely see how we can have this topic again. In closing, is there anything that you would like to leave for our listeners?
Okay, so sure. Okay, so let me just, this is the last slide. I think let me leave the entrepreneurs and small business owners with this slide. This is something called a digital marketing purchase funnel. And it's something to have in the back of your mind all the time when you're advertising, even if it's not on digital, but it's something to just keep in the back of your mind.
Just maybe it might relate to a very pressing question that we have from Paula that says, how do I turn my likes to customers?
Yes. So first off, on the digital marketing funnel, there's an awareness phase. So the paid ads, the SEO, the email marketing, the social media kind of contributes to the awareness. So you're trying to get awareness around your e-commerce platform, right? And then we move over to, and this translates to site visits. So the more people are aware of your website, the more people will really visit your website and you'll get targeted traffic, right? And then we move over to the interest and consideration phase. So this is the phase where people, the cog is turning in their minds and they're considering purchasing, right? So this is the click through to the landing page, like we discussed earlier, or specific product page. And there you can browse products, and we call that in e-commerce context, we'll call that the product view page. So where they're viewing your products and they're really thinking about buying them, but they're not sure. And then maybe they leave the website and then they get a call from their friends, or they go to dinner and then they come back. And then there's something called remarketing here, which I can't cover in this segment, unfortunately, but in the masterclass, I'll definitely will. So you can remarket to them to bring them back to the website. And then that goes into the intent phase, right? So this is the section where they are ready to buy and they're just like, I want to purchase this product. I want to add it to cart. I've already considered it. So they'll add products to cart and enter the checkout page. And then there's what we call the conversion phase, which what every entrepreneur wants, right? To convert customers into sales. So this is the checkout and purchase product page. Or product purchase of product. So this is where they check out and they purchase the product, and then now the distribution and supply chain management processes start becoming into effect. Great.
Awesome.
Sure, and that is the end. And I'm happy to take any questions if there are.
So we definitely will see what other additional questions we have. Once again, guys, that recording is available on YouTube. We will have a look at when we are able to bring you another masterclass on digital marketing. So definitely, I found this very exciting and very engaging and very educational as well. So Tebogo, thank you so much. So guys, we've brought you how to build your e-commerce platform. We've brought you a real house case study. We've brought you the insights around how we can market your e-commerce platform. And sometimes with all these elements, if you're building all these things, you need to understand the legal positioning of where digital is at. So we will now be moving into digital legalities and really unpacking the legal ramifications of setting up an e-commerce business, because you don't want to go into this thing blindly. You want to, yes, we can have all the nice fancy stuff and have a great social media engagement profile or strategy, but the legalities are so important. So I want to welcome Daniel, who's going to unpack some of the legalities around setting up an e-commerce platform. Don't miss it. Daniel, are you there?
Good morning. Thank you, Sean.
Good morning. So we've covered a lot of the niceties around being able to take your product, build a platform, engage your clients. But why is the legal element so important? Just to share with everyone again, we are here at Entrepreneurship to the Point in partnership with SEDA on this innovation forum. These recordings are available on our YouTube channel. That's Entrepreneurship to the Point. And also subscribe to our newsletter at www.eTTP.co.za. Daniel, speak to us about all things legal now.
All right. Yeah. Now that all the fun stuff's done, we'll jump into the law. So just to answer your question, the law, it surrounds everything we do all the time, every time. It's the framework that governs society, and the online space is really no different. So I'm just going to switch over to my presentation quick. Okay,
Daniel,
so
just maybe give us an introduction to Encode as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Daniel. I'm a tech law advisor at Encode. We are a specialist legal consultancy and advisory, and we focus on aspects of where technology meets the law. And we assist startups to large corporates on anything relevant to technology and the law. So that includes issues like cybersecurity, privacy, data protection, and of course, e-commerce. Okay, so to get started, as Tebogo rightly pointed out, e-commerce is a massive sector. And my statistics are from 2019 as a global whole. And you can see that the numbers are quite staggering. E-commerce is always on the rise, and the actual value of the market is extraordinary. So in South Africa, we have 3 acts that primarily apply to e-commerce providers. And that's the Electronic Communications and Transactions Act. That's going to be the focal point of my presentation today. And it's a pretty innovative act. If you can see, it came out in 2002. It foresaw pretty much all of our current e-commerce platforms, and it provided the regulation and the backbone for those. The next is the Protection of Personal Information Act. This act started and came out in 2013, but only commenced very recently this year, the 30th of June. And you have a 12-month grace period to comply with the act, which means 30 June 2021, the penalties can start coming out. The Protection of Personal Information Act is basically governs the collection, the processing, and the storage of personal information. So to bring it home to e-commerce platforms, when you register an account, you sign up with your name, your email address, you've got your delivery location, your financial information, all of that is personal information, and it has to be handled in accordance with the act. Otherwise, you can end up facing fines or even prison time for severe cases. And then there's the Consumer Protection Act. The Consumer Protection Act isn't only relevant to online transactions. It protects consumers throughout South Africa in any essence of transacting, whether it's hire and rental, online, banking agreements. It's any time where you are a consumer, the CPA applies. So before we get started on the Electronic Communications and Transactions Act, I just want to run over some quick definitions that I've taken out the Act, and then I'll explain them in the context of an e-commerce platform. So a data message is data generated, sent, received, and stored by electronic means. So this includes something simple, an SMS, an email, or it also includes something more complicated, where you click, I accept terms and conditions on a website, where you click add to cart. That's a data message. You are sending an instruction from your server where you are interacting to the server of the e-commerce platform. An electronic signature is data attached to, incorporated, or logically associated with data which is intended to serve as a signature. So again, a more basic understanding of this is your email signature. If you send out an agreement, a contract, anything like that, and someone else accepts it, your email signature ties that message to you. And then in a more complicated sense, again, an e-commerce platform online. So your electronic signature would be your name associated to your account, and that's how the platform knows who it's dealing with. And then an electronic agent is a computer program used independently to initiate an action or respond to a data message. This one can be pretty abstract, but all e-commerce platforms in South Africa, Takealot, iHouseit, and Superbalist, these are electronic agents of their parent company. You are not interacting with an employee at Takealot, you are interacting with Takealot, the platform, which is the electronic agent. So in South Africa, if we take this now to the basis of contract, your most essential elements of a contract is, first off, you have an offer. On an e-commerce platform, an offer are all of your ads as they are displayed across all of your products. So on the left there, you can see from Takealot, browsing keyboards and mice, and there you go, those are the offers. Takealot has given me an offer, and then when I click add to cart, I've accepted the offer. Granted, it's temporary acceptance because final acceptance will be at checkout. And then an important aspect is capacity. In South Africa, the age of contractual capacity is majority, which is 18. That's not to say you can't have a platform that targets children with kids' toys, children's-based services, whether it's like educational material or etc. But then you need to factor in an aspect of parental consent. Children cannot contract in South Africa under the age of 7. All of those contracts will be void. Between 7 and 18, they have limited capacity, which means you need to factor in parental consent. And then, of course, a contract has to be possible. So I've taken some screenshots from the Silk Road, the dark web drug dealing website. Of course, you cannot legally sell drugs, so it has to be both lawfully possible and physically possible. You can't sell someone a star, for example, as nobody owns a star. And then lastly, formalities. South Africa allows you to attach any kind of formalities as long as they're legal. Excuse me. So in this instance, I've taken Takealot's COVID-19's return policy. This means it's a formality that's not apparent in all of their transactions, and it's not always relevant. It is only for their returns, and it's only for this duration of COVID-19. So you can think about that when building a platform, is what kind of formalities do you want to attach to the products you sell? So moving on to the Electronic Communications and Transactions Act. The ECTA is the enabling piece of legislation for all activities, for all online e-commerce activities in South Africa. So Section 11 gives the validity to data messages, as we've discussed. Section 20 provides for automated transactions, so it allows for online platforms to exist and transact with consumers. And Section 22 provides the legal force for agreements when entered into online. And Section 24 provides for the expression of an intent other than a signature. So think about when you're clicking I accept, you are accepting to terms and conditions without really signing anything. So when is a contract concluded? It's important to know when a contract is concluded, because as a provider, the liability that you have as a platform is only attached once the contract is concluded. So the status of the parties, if you've been dealing with a minor, that contract is void at the existence. If you have any formalities attached to your agreement, the formalities only come into existence when the contract comes into existence. So in South Africa, an agreement is concluded between parties by a data message at the time and place where acceptance is received by the offerer. So that's a lot of legalese, but let's break it down. If you add something to your cart and you proceed to checkout. By the time you click checkout, when that data message containing your click of checkout is received by Takealot, for example, the contract is concluded. So Takealot does not need to respond to you saying, thank you, we've received your order. They do out of courtesy, but they do not need to. That is, the contract is concluded from the moment of checkout. And then, of course, the contractual duties arise. So the returns policy kicks in, the status of the parties is determined, and the legal principles and the jurisdiction determines. So jurisdiction is an interesting thing in South Africa. It's determined by where an issue arises, but you are free to conclude jurisdiction by contract, which means in your terms of service, in your terms of use for your platform, you can say that should a dispute arise, the parties will go through mediation, they'll then go through arbitration, and then they will go to a High Court of South Africa or a Magistrates Court of South Africa. You are free to make that decision. Where you do not make that decision, it's determined automatically. Sorry, Sean?
Good question. So, and the question might not necessarily come out in the right way, so I'm going to try and phrase it correctly. But if, for instance, you have an e-commerce platform where the domain is hosted internationally somewhere else, but you're marketing it to a South African market, and the entity is also registered offshore, which jurisdiction actually takes precedence?
So you've actually stumbled on an incredibly complicated issue in law. It's actually largely open to debate with international agreements. That's between member states. So for example, let's say you have a European company marketing to South Africans, or a South African company marketing to Europeans, either way. What will typically come about is that you will have extra jurisdictional treaties. So in Europe, you have the General Data Protection Regulation. It's an extraterritorial regulation, which means that if you are operating in Europe or you are marketing to European citizens, you are bound by those terms. And then you are bound by the courts of Europe. But if you, and the same thing applies with POPIA, the Protection of Personal Information Act in South Africa. So if you are marketing to a South African, even if you are based overseas, you are subject to South African law, which means you are subject to the South African courts.
Okay, awesome. And I think, already, Daniel, a lot of these things are, it's the back end, it's the fine print. But I think I want to encourage the listeners that these are the important things, because this is creating the framework for whatever you would want to embark on in terms of your e-commerce platform. If you don't have the legalities down, you don't want to get into a situation where someone's going to sue you because you've not followed or dotted your I's and crossed your T's. So the legalities are very important, and it's not something that you should think about once someone sues you. It's something that you need to think about when setting up the entity or the e-commerce platform at the beginning.
Yeah, Sean, what you've brought up there is something we struggle with in the industry of law, is that people only seek us out when the problem arises. So you can actually avoid incurring a lot of legal fees and facing a lot of ire from regulators by just being cognizant of what the rules are and building your platform accordingly from the beginning. And I would really recommend that people visit the South African website for laws.gov.za, and you can download PDFs of all of these acts completely for free, and you can just read them in your own time. Granted, they don't make for fun reading, but I suppose it's part of the process of building a platform. So proving time and place, again, this comes in about proving that a contract exists and proving that it was a lawful contract. You have to prove the time and the place where it happened. So a data message is regarded as sent when it enters the information system outside control of the sender. This again means when I click checkout, once that information of me clicking checkout leaves my internal system, my Wi-Fi network at home, and it enters the servers of Takealot or any other e-commerce platform, that message is sent, a contract is concluded, I am bound by those terms as a consumer, and Takealot is bound to deliver the product as the e-commerce platform. Now,
Daniel, the website where they can download the various acts.
Absolutely. www.gov.za.
Okay, awesome.
It's our South African like home website, the government portal. So automated transactions. This is the most relevant aspect of having an e-commerce platform, is you have built an automated transacting system. So takealot.com is an automated system, and it commits automated transactions on behalf of Takealot, the company. And the same thing with Superbalist and all the other providers. So this is where liability comes in, where you've built your platform. So no agreement is formed with a person who interacts directly with an electronic agent. No agreement if I'm, as the consumer, interact with Takealot and the following has not been provided for. So Takealot has to provide me with the opportunity to prevent or correct an error. It has to allow me the opportunity to notify them that I have made an error, and I have to take steps to return the performance. So in the case of an online transaction, you can't return a good if you're canceling at the moment of sending. So this means Takealot has to provide an ability for me to cancel the transaction. And again, if you are building an e-commerce platform, it's important to make sure that these systems are built into your platform and you've made allowance for these consumer rights. And then the last one is where I have made an error, I must not receive any material benefit. So again, if I've made an error, I've entered the wrong shipping address, I've entered the wrong banking information, I've accidentally ordered something I didn't want, I can cancel the agreement and I have not yet received any material benefit. If you are a platform and you deliver a good after sending it to someone, after checkout, and you deliver that service or that product, they have been said to receive a material benefit if they've opened up that product and they have made use of that product. So it has to retain in the original packaging. So in that sense, it protects the platform as well. You can't buy something online, sit for 30 days, and then decide, no, I want my money back. So e-commerce agreements, the most typical are your click wrap agreements. And I've got examples.
Sorry,
yes,
Ron. Quick question on the previous one. So is that also in relation to the Consumer Protection Act?
Yes, so the ECTA, the Electronic Communications and Transactions Act, and the Consumer Protection Act both provide for consumer protection. The difference is that the Consumer Protection Act applies to all transactions involving consumers across the country, not just online, whereas the ECTA applies to online transactions.
Okay.
And the CPA does not overrule the ECTA, they operate together.
Okay.
So your click wrap agreements are your standard online agreements, your terms of service, your terms of use, your privacy policies. And here I have Takealot's example. When you register an account on Takealot, when you click register now, they say that you agree to Takealot's terms of service, which means the terms of service have been incorporated by reference and you are now bound by them. And then the bottom one here is from Steam. I agree that I am 13 years of age or older, and I agree to the terms of service, and you click continue. It's important, again, that you have to link your terms of service and your privacy policy at this point in time, because the consumer has to be made aware of the terms in which your platform operates. And you can ignore the 13 years or older. Steam is an American company. They're bound by the American legislation, COPPA. And in terms of that, you can't market to children below the age of 13. So in this instance, they've got 13. So it's important to know if you're marketing to Americans.
As an American company?
Yes.
Okay.
So yes, Steam will market to 13 and older because COPPA says that you can't transact with a below 13. And you'll notice that Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, they all have the same terms of service. It'll be to 13 or older. So your website platform's T's and C's. Here we have Takealot. So you can see they've got their returns policy, their terms and conditions, their daily deals, and their gift vouchers. All of these should be kept together. And Section 11.3 of the Act says that information not included in the public domain is only incorporated if it is referred to in a way that a reasonable person would have noticed the reference and it is accessible, can be read, stored, and retrieved. So your website terms of service that govern your contract are incorporated by reference. So that's how the consumer knows what he's bound to. And then if we scroll back up to the other slide, these are the examples of that. Takealot has referenced their terms of service, and they've acknowledged your consent to them by saying, when you register now, you agree to Takealot's terms and conditions. So your standard terms and conditions for all e-commerce platforms, you've got your terms for your account creation, i.e. what age are you to use the service, what kind of information you need to provide to create the service. You've got your product types and availability for sale, age prohibition on certain products. Of course, you can't sell alcohol and tobacco to minors, and you can't sell alcohol and tobacco anyway, given the COVID regulations. Your pricing policy, your method of payment, your order confirmation processes. So all of these have to be included in your terms of service. And then I would also like to direct anyone building an e-commerce platform to please look at section 43 of the Electronic Communications and Transactions Act. There are 18 items listed there that have to be provided to consumers. For example, your full name and legal status, the physical address, description of the item, all of these have to be provided for. If they are not, the consumer has a right to cancel that transaction within 14 days and suffer no penalty. So that's important to note that you incorporate that information. So again, so if we jump into consumer protection online, section 43.2, consumers must be provided an opportunity to review the entire electronic transaction. For example, on the right here, I've got a checkout page from iHouseit. You can see that they allow you to view and edit the cart. What this means is that they allow you the ability to review the transaction, they allow you the ability to correct any mistakes, and they allow you the ability to withdraw from the transaction before placing the order. All e-commerce websites must allow for these three things. Otherwise, you do not have a solid contract. If we continue consumer protection, a consumer is entitled to cancel a transaction within 14 days of receiving the goods. So this is where you have not provided for the previous information as all contained in section 43, and all of this information here for your standard, your pricing policy, your methods of payment, order confirmation process, etc. Where that is not provided for, a consumer has the right to cancel within 14 days. And where a consumer cancels, the goods can be returned for a full refund minus only the direct costs of returning the goods. So again, you open yourselves up to a lot of liability as an e-commerce platform if you do not provide the correct information. And finally, the supplier is liable to the consumer for damage suffered as a result of the payment system. This again is incredibly important. You need to ensure that your payment gateways, the contracts that you have in place with your payment gateways are solid, because should something go wrong, the consumer have its information leaked, the transaction not go through correctly, the wrong account be debited, etc. Anything going wrong with the payment system, the liability lies with the provider. So that's you as the e-commerce platform.
Daniel, if we can maybe just go back to the previous slide.
Sure.
You just covered elements around section, I think it was section 44 or 43?
43.
43, yeah. If you can, we just had a question for you just to recover those elements around section 43.
Okay, sure. So yeah, section 43 lists 18 items, pieces of information that a supplier has to provide a consumer. I fully recommend looking at the full list on the legislation, the Electronic Communications and Transactions Act. If you just Google ECTA South Africa, it'll be the first link at gov.za. So these are terms like the full name, legal status of your company, where your company is located, a physical address, an email address, a full description of the item, your returns policy, your pricing policy, the methods of payment. Like I said, there's a full list that you should definitely look into. Okay,
so let's go, guys. Section 43 has all the list of elements that needs to be included. Okay, great stuff. We can continue.
Absolutely. So to kind of link it a little bit to Moho's presentation, we've got cooling off and direct marketing. So cooling off is a right in international consumer protection law and is the same thing in South Africa. All consumers, no matter if it's online or offline, have a right to cancel an agreement without any reason whatsoever and without penalty for the supply of goods or services within 7 days of receiving those goods or services. So Takealot actually goes above and beyond in this respect, in that Takealot allows you 30 days to return an unwanted product, but the minimum is 7 days. And then direct marketing. Things have changed a bit on direct marketing, and then this would also include email marketing, in that Popia has changed the system in South Africa from opt-out to opt-in. So it was nice of Tebogo to mention the opt-in on email marketing, because that is the current legal situation in South Africa. And in this instance, you can see on the right there, that's Takealot's newsletter. You provide your email address, and then you opt into that email. But where you use direct marketing, it is also important to note that you have to have a means of providing to cancel that agreement. And should the consumer request it, you have to be able to identify where you got that information, and you have to provide an ability to cancel or opt out of your newsletter. So jumping into your external policies and your governance that you should have on your platform, these are the bare minimum. So your platform terms of service. This should set out the directions for end users on how they are permitted to use the platform and how the liability of your platform is limited. Your terms of service will detail as well all of that information in section 43. It will detail the full name of your company. It'll detail your company's address, the email address, the contact person. It'll detail your pricing policy, your returns policy. Granted, it doesn't need to include your returns policy. What some e-commerce providers do, for the sake of being transparent to consumers and also being accommodating, they separate these policies. So Takealot has a returns policy as well as a terms and conditions. Though to save time, you can incorporate them into one agreement.
Daniel, sorry, people say I must introduce myself. I'm Karin. I'm with Entrepreneurship to the Point. I'm engaging with the attendees in the chat. As a small business, it seems daunting to draw a platform terms of service, privacy policy. Are there tools or quick, somewhere that people can go to get those in place? Is there like a basic template for a startup business? Mm-hmm. Do you have to pay a lawyer?
Absolutely. I understand the reservations around legal fees and associating with lawyers in general. But there are templates, and although there's nothing wrong with templates, I would strongly advise against the use of a template. So say, for example, if you are operating a store that is template of another store, you are just creating Takealot 2. It is pretty much good to use Takealot service if it operates the exact same way. But your terms of service should be relevant to your platform. It should describe your pricing policy, your acceptable use of the platform, the information you collect. So it should encourage, I would encourage platform owners and platform developers to create their own terms of service, to hire a specialist to draft up the terms of service. Although simply Googling templates will give you something that suffices.
Daniel, I think the advice is spot on, and I think that we always want to encourage businesses to make sure rather pay the fees up front, especially with something as specialized as legal services. It's not a copy-paste exercise. It will be money well spent in your business in order to make sure that all the agreements and policies and regulations are bespoke to your business, as opposed to trying to just copy and paste what someone else is doing. It's part of that school fees that you need to pay as a business upfront.
Absolutely. And I mean, if we just look at, for example, the Protection of Personal Information Act, that requires that you have a privacy policy, which is at the bottom of this slide. Violating the Protection of Personal Information Act can attract fines of up to 10 million Rand. Now, that, of course, is damning to any startup. No basic startup will be able to afford a fine of 10 million Rand. So, and then, of course, the Protection of Personal Information Act has director liability. So as a director of a company that violates that act, you can also suffer personal liability. So again, templates can be used, and especially if your platform is just something small and basic to begin with, you just want a quick template that covers and ticks all the boxes of the information you have to provide and covers the securities that you have to provide, then you're pretty much fine. But I would recommend that when the money starts coming in, you revisit them and you reevaluate them and get them more in line as a bespoke agreement to your platform and what you intend the platform to be moving forward. So on the last part are your internal policies and governance. So this is stuff that the consumer doesn't see, but it's things that you should consider as a platform, as it attaches legal liabilities and it has potential consequences. So the first is a social media policy. This is big among almost any large corporation, especially becoming how ubiquitous social media is. And if you are an e-commerce platform and you are selling online, you would want any of your employees to be conscious of how they are allowed to use social media. You can't disparage the company online. And it's all about building acceptable brand identity. And that policy simply just instructs staff on how they can use social media. And then the next is the information security policy. This policy designates who are the appropriate persons in your organization that handle personal information. This is hugely important as a compliance basis for a violation of the Protection of Personal Information Act. If you have a data breach and you have lost subscribers' names, addresses, and that's all been gained through a breach in your security, when the information regulator comes to look at your platform, showing that you have an information security policy in place will be tantamount to avoiding a massive fine.
Just as we've seen, sorry, I was being a bit facetious there with my cough and mentioning Twitter, but I mean that was a real issue that took place. I think it was yesterday.
Absolutely.
And I mean, their share price dropped significantly because they had major security breaches and hacking of accounts. And if it can happen to someone like a Twitter, it could happen to anyone. So
the craziest thing about the Twitter as well is that it was actually an insider job. At least what we know now is that it was insider information that led to the hack, that provided the hackers with a tool. So in this instance, that's where the information security policy comes in. As your organization grows, as you bring in more people that are not just friends and family or partners that you've known for a long time, and you start hiring your more outside people, you're going to need a policy which designates who has access to that information, what they do with that information, and who's at fault when that information is breached or leaked. And Twitter will have an information security policy, and best believe when they find, or if they've already found who leaked that information, he's going to be in big trouble.
So we've got a question here from Carol, and it says, if I have email addresses of people who have bought sculptures, she's an artist who has bought sculptures from me previously, can I send an email to them showing photographs of new work? So if someone has engaged with your business, are you able to start sending them information? Or should you have a specific opt-in function like we spoke about?
So although you might argue that demonstration of the new artwork is not marketing, it is an unsolicited communication. You are sending something to someone without their prior consent. So in that instance, you would be violating the Protection of Personal Information Act, and that would be an unsolicited communication. So what you should have in place is an opt-in feature. So where someone buys something, they can opt into receiving newsletters or extra demonstrations or more examples of the work that you have or the artwork that you've generated.
Okay. And then Ayanda's got a question here around personal information that gets stored on third-party applications. So for instance, hosting providers or Hootsuite as an example. How will it impact her business or his business if the information to these platforms is compromised? So if you're using a third-party provider to host personal information of your client and that third party gets compromised, how does it affect your business? What's the liability that you carry?
Okay, so typically when you sign up to a third-party hosting service, you will have an agreement in place that will designate where that liability sits. But the biggest risk in that instance where the third party is breached is a loss of brand goodwill. So where the news comes out that your brand has suffered a data breach, despite the fact that it wasn't your servers that got breached, it was your third-party service provider, it would likely tie into your brand name, but no legal liability will sit with you where the information is breached at a third-party site.
Okay, awesome. We've got a aspiring attorney on the call as well. So Will Addison is currently studying cyber law, and he wants to know where's the future needs, or will there be a bigger need for cyber lawyers in the future? I guess as we're moving into this digital age and fourth industrial economy, the need for more specialized cyber law experts are going to be in high demand.
Absolutely. Cybersecurity is an incredibly important aspect of the law at the moment. I mean, we've seen a massive spike in cyber attacks, and that also includes not just data breaches, but your online fraud, online scams. Those have skyrocketed in prominence over COVID-19. And in that respect, lawyers that have an understanding of how an attack takes place, have an understanding of the tools used, and the origin of the attack, because as people might know, tracing a cyber attack is very difficult, and then determining jurisdiction to prosecute a cyber offense becomes incredibly difficult. So all of these aspects are definitely important, and in that regard, I would say there's definitely a trend in lawyers learning to code, as we need a better understanding of how these platforms operate, and how that information is accessed, how it is spread, and how a data breach actually takes place, or how a scam communicates to consumers.
I've got another question here from Corneille, and he's asking, so if I email the company directly, so if I email the company that I got the name from a friend, are they allowed to forward me emails because they stored my email address? Once again, it speaks to the question around you need to opt in. If you don't opt in, you will not, they cannot solicit you with, or they can't be sending unsolicited emails through to you.
Absolutely.
Another variation to that question, Daniel, before you give your perspective, is if, for instance, so Carol says she has got a notebook that people write their email addresses in if they're interested in. That's a form of opting in my opinion.
Absolutely. So again, these principles are kind of abstract. They don't have to be blatantly transparent and obvious. Where you have a notebook and you've told a person, if you want to know more, write your email address and I'll send you a newsletter, or I'll send you an email. As of course, that's a very informal connection, and that's probably really prominent with your small time stores and your mom and pop shops, so to speak. And in that sense, you have obtained consent, and that is that person has opted in, despite not having a formal structure of an agreement in place saying you've opted in, etc. So absolutely, you are protected there. But where you send an email address to a company, you send an email to a company, and it is not specifically relevant to a newsletter, that company cannot then use your email address to send you newsletters or unsolicited communications. If I send an email to takealot.com, their helpline, I've got an issue with an order, that does not give them the right to use my email address, forward me newsletters on offerings of deals, etc. So yeah, that's a basic introduction of the Electronic Communications and Transactions Act on e-commerce platforms. We didn't really have time to jump into the Protection of Personal Information Act, although I don't have slides prepped. If you have any questions on that, feel free to email me or raise them now.
Okay,
and
sure.
Then that's.
We've got a question from our legal student, Will Addison, and I'm going to rephrase the question by asking you, have you ever hacked?
Have I ever hacked?
Have you ever hacked?
So, have you ever committed a crime? No,
so
I have never hacked something.
He speaks about, Daniel, did you have to study software or ethical hacking courses to help understand your job better?
I didn't. My LLB was very simple, simple. It was a basic standard law degree. I've learned the rest on the trade working at Endcode.
Okay, awesome. Guys, thank you once again so much. Daniel, Tebogo, thank you so much for today's session. Once again, it was equipped with so much information, lots of learning taking place. And I just want to say, like Paula said, you know, she gave a shout out on the chat saying this is really great information, but we need to be able to get this information out to entrepreneurs across South Africa, grassroots entrepreneurs that does not have access to this information. This is the reason why we partnered up with SEDA for this 2-day forum at Entrepreneurship to the Point. Our aim is to inform, equip, and inspire entrepreneurs. And by doing that is by providing information that really would assist them to take their business forward. Our aim is really to get this information out as far and wide as possible. That's why, guys, the information will be made available on our YouTube channel. So that is Entrepreneurship to the Point. Everything there is available. All our previous videos are available as well. Over this lockdown period, I think we've done close to 50 webinars informing, equipping, and inspiring entrepreneurs. And please do join us. Sign up for our newsletter at www.eTTP, or subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you will get notifications for any future webinars and information. So as Daniel taught us, you need to opt in. So subscribing or signing up to our newsletter is a way of you opting in, and we'll be sharing that information with you. I'm Sean Tiernison. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for the team behind the scenes who keeps on going. Please do catch us at our next webinar, Entrepreneurship to the Point webinar, and have yourself a fantastic weekend, guys. I'm not sure if there's anything else that I need to be sharing with you at this point in time. So if there is, please do jump in, any one of my team. But on that note, I'm out of here. Thank you.